So, Vicky, if you would
So,
like to,
yeah,
oh, wait,
can
I
you
have to
share your
make you,
screen? Or can you allow me to share my screen?
yes,
Yeah.
I'll make you a co-host. There we go. I
Thank
always forget to
you.
do something important.
Me too,
Oh,
all the
come, you
time.
never. She says that, but she's not. She's great. She never forgets anything.
Can you all see that?
Mhm.
I'm just going to try and put it into fancy presentation mode. Yes, excellent. Okay, and of course I put it there. So yeah, I'll just put up my nice picture of a tea drying station in, I think that's Tanzania. Apologies, I should know. This is a tea plantation and drying facility that was supplying tea bags to Marks and Spencers. So yeah, that's just for anybody who doesn't know what that looks like. There it is. I always think it's nice to see what production centres look like. And I'm a total nerd when it comes to things like this. I love factories. I love looking at how things work. I read an interview with Bill Gates a while back, and he was saying he drags his son and his daughter to tours of factories to look at how like golf balls are made when they're on their family holiday. I don't think I'm that bad yet, but yeah, this is my jam completely. Anyway, not to dwell any further, welcome to the hackathon proper. As you can see, this is run in collaboration with UCD and ourselves, Proudly Made in Africa, and we are looking for our hackers to find business solutions to deliver the SDGs by 2030. So don't worry if you don't know too much about the SDGs, although I'm sure just based on the brief conversation we've had, you're all pretty aware of what they are. So there are 17 and they are arranged in order of priority. So number one is no poverty, number two is no hunger, and yeah, etc. Three is healthcare, four is education, five is gender diversity, six, seven, eight, nine, all the way up to 17. I won't go through them. So to get on then, who are Proudly Made in Africa? Why are you here? Why do we want to harvest your ideas? So we are a Dublin-based social enterprise. We have charity status here in Ireland and we're roughly 13 years old. My God, we are over 13 years old. We were 13 at the end of February, which it still is February. Yes, we are 13. So we believe the fastest way to break African poverty cycles is to create African jobs for African people. When we started, probably like the SDGs weren't in existence, but now we would say that our work firmly places us in under SDG 8. So we are looking to create decent work and economic growth, and decent work first, economic growth second, because a lot of world economists tend to flip that and have it the other way first. So we work hand in hand with our African businesses, small to medium sized enterprises, and we help them export. And the thinking behind that is when they grow, when they reach new export markets, they expand. When they expand, they hire. And we would hope then by creating a thriving Indigenous industry that creates sustainable employment and therefore thriving communities. So we work in trade, not aid. Even though we are a charity, we are an NGO, we believe in using trade and harnessing the power of business to deliver all of the development goals that everyone is working towards. And then our team is a mixture of myself, a very senior procurement expert, Ms. Fina Kirkham. You'll see her on our website if you want to go and do some research on who we are. And my esteemed colleague, Dr. David Nyaluke, who's joining us on the call today, a senior and prominent African scholar who will be delivering an address at the conference on Wednesday. So if you want to hear him speak about his subject matter expertise, I would suggest registering for the conference, but no pressure. Okay, so some stats on us then, just to give you a thing. Yeah, we're established in February 2008. We have more than 700 producers on our books. So in our database, we have more than 700 producers. And they're predominantly based across East and Southern Africa. And then we have some outlier organization, partner organizations in Madagascar and Mauritius. So there's the 8 countries that we're currently working in. I actually should have updated this. I wrote this last weekend, and since then we have brought on a partner in Ghana who is, excuse me if you'll allow me to dip into the stockroom of Proudly Made in Africa, which is also my bedroom. This is Fair Africa Ghana. So we brought them on. They will be one of our newest Proudly Made in Africa awardees. So they'll carry our logo probably on the back of their package to attest to their Africanness, their high quality, their ready to retail ability, and their positive social impact. So yeah, so that's great. So yes, so that is 9 countries now that we're operational in at the moment. We supported our partners over the years to deliver over 1 million euro in export sales, sorry, per annum. So yeah, I think when I rolled that up, we were at kind of 7 or 8 million in total at the last time. And then our education program, which is the reason that we're here with you guys and Maeve. We've been in partnership with UCD since 2015. David Nyaluke is our current fellow in business and development in Africa. And he goes around the business schools of Ireland educating the business minds of the future about the opportunities Africa presents today. So in that program, David and his predecessors have engaged probably over 20,000 students now, I'd say, David, probably up at that mark now. I think we were at 19,500 earlier this year or late last year. So we're probably well over 20,000 now. 65 lecturers and 16 universities in the island of Ireland. So that's just to give you an idea on the scope and the breadth of the program that David is running. So now, the reason that we're actually here, the current state of play. So to frame the problem statements that you're going to be working on. We have less than 10 years to deliver a world with no poverty, no hunger, gender equality, access to health and decent jobs. And if you look further through the SDGs, you'll see things like reducing inequalities, so wealth inequalities and things that seem to be, so some things we're making great progress on. So in the past 50 years or so of development, access to health and education, equality across genders, that has improved. Objectively, you can see in reports that that's improved. Poverty is reducing overall and hunger is reducing overall. However, we also know that wealth inequality is increasing. So where we are making some progress, other things we're probably not making as much progress. And then I'm sure you're all aware that we're in the midst of a climate crisis, a climate emergency as declared by multiple governments around the world. And climate action is one of the SDGs that need to be delivered by 2030. So we're running out of time to hit these targets. And then what that means for Africa, because that's where our work is focused, 33 of the poorest countries in the world where delivery of the SDGs would really make a difference, they are based in Africa. So there are kind of 53 or 54 countries that have economic statuses as the least developed countries, and the majority of those are in sub-Saharan Africa. But that's not to say that that's the only story going on in those countries. They have booming populations and booming economies. They have emerging middle classes. They have massive consumer markets, so much so that major brands are looking to the African consumer market as growth markets for them. So it's a really kind of interesting time to be looking at business in Africa. There's a ton of foreign direct investment going into countries like Ethiopia, like Tanzania, like Kenya, as well as places like Ghana, Sierra Leone, the Gambia. And it's going into emerging industries. So as kind of, as industrial sectors mature in places like South and East Asia, business being what it is, and sometimes unscrupulous business being what it is, people are looking for the next best place to set up industrial centres. So you see things like the garment sector moving their cotton production to places like East Africa because numerous African nations have a wealth of cotton that has historically been exported to places like India and Pakistan and China, when actually they could be made in country. So yeah, so there's a lot going on in Africa at the moment when it comes to business and investment. But what we're here today to talk about is how to do that business in the right way to deliver development targets. So what we want you guys to think about is, how do we harness the power of business? How do we kind of say to, for example, a food producer, we don't just want you to set up a canning facility in southeast Kenya to capitalize on the low minimum wage, or we don't want you to set up a footwear factory in Ethiopia to capitalize on the fact that there's no minimum wage. What you're supposed to be doing is improving the livelihoods of your workers, the producers that feed into your manufacturing chain. And actually, I'm speaking about manufacturing because that's my area of expertise, but it doesn't have to be about manufacturing. It can be about fintech, which is Mark's area of expertise. It could be about banking. It could be about pharmaceuticals. It could be about pure technology. So what we want you to do is to get very, very excited about the business opportunities that the continent presents. Have a think about them, but always bear in mind what we're actually trying to do here. This isn't just business as usual. This isn't just any old trade will do, any type of job creation will do. It has to be sustainable job creation. It has to allow people to earn themselves a decent income so that they can provide for themselves, they can provide for their families, they can have all of the basics of a good life, which is shelter, housing, clothing, access to health, but also discretionary income to put towards the future, or just to enjoy their lives a little bit. So that's what we mean kind of by sustainable jobs. The expectations then I've touched on. So we want to see innovation, as much innovation as possible, please. Be creative as you can be at late on a Friday evening. Because Africa then has so much population growth, the solutions have to be scalable. So we support SMEs because 99+% of the world's businesses are SMEs. And I mean, there's nothing really stopping a good SME becoming huge overnight because every business starts as a small business. But it has to have potential to scale. So these are the kind of criteria that we'll be looking towards and judging on. Is it innovative? Is it scalable? Is there a potential for millions of people across the continent and not just kind of within communities or within countries? Is there potential for millions of people to be employed through this business idea? And then respect for the PMIA values, I suppose, is massively important. So our values are equality, shared learning, and partnership. So we don't want any white saviors saying, oh, let's just do this and sure, that'll be fine. And all of the value or the wealth is retained by people who already have it. So they are our values, no white saviors here, please. And then the last point is we want solutions with a triple bottom line. So obviously maximum profit for the people and the planet that the supply chain or that the business touches. So that's it. I think if you want to follow our work, we're very good on Instagram. We have some lovely pictures. We've just launched a new website and a web shop. So proudlymadeinafrica.org is where you can find more information. But I will also be kind of dipping in and out of the Discord now over the next couple of weeks. So you can ask any questions about our work or even about anything I've just said if you want clarity. Or if you just want to ask a question, say, is that innovative enough? And I'll be able to say, yes, better than anything I'd ever come up with. So that's it.
Nice. Thank you, Vicky. My sad part about online meetings is there's no clapping at the end. So great. And now everybody has a little bit more idea about where to go and kind of the directions that we're aiming for. And I will say I've been using the People, Planet, Profit to explain things so much in the past month or so. It's such an
I love
easy way to think
alliteration,
about
I
it.
must say.
Yeah, it's really good. Maybe did you want to say a few words as well? You were on my list.
Sure, yeah, really very briefly. I mean, mostly just to say that it's just really cool to be here. There's that little part of me is just feeling bad for everybody that our numbers are low tonight. But actually, do you know what? It's all about energy and just actually, it's such a privilege to have a conversation as a small group about, with passionate people. That's more valuable than anything. So very much as Vicky said, the reason the Quinn School is, I suppose, in collaboration with Proudly Made in Africa, and we're so privileged and lucky to have that opportunity. It's a very inspiring NGO, is because they came to us. I mean, this is real classic innovation startup stuff. They came to us and said, hang on, we're in the business of doing what we do, but we've realized that actually, if we really want to institute change, the people we would love to influence our future business, decision makers, specifically people who might be buyers or suppliers or setting up businesses. And also, by the way, we've done a little bit of research. We've discovered that really some of the main barriers to why people are less sort of instant about the clarity of why they could or should be doing business with Africa is to do with prejudice, but mostly to do with lack of knowledge, and that lack of knowledge making people unclear and unsure-footed. So that was why we thought, yes, absolutely, we want to get involved with this in terms of bringing just planting seeds of knowledge, because Africa is such, an extraordinary proposition, even if we're just talking pure business terms, in terms of, rising markets, rising opportunities, diversity of opportunity resources. And at the same time, there's so much to know and unknow about the continent. And so we've been with David's help, and before him, Dr. Penelope Muzana-Hamo, who maybe you've met in a class on the marketing side. We've been doing this idea of just planting case studies, or at least a class within a large module, just to get the conversation started. And as you go on through the College of Business, you will meet that, in maybe supply chain, or maybe over here if you're looking at business and social enterprise, or maybe over there if you're looking at what other, some extraordinary different modules. So that was the idea, was to just show Africa, let it come through in different places in the business curriculum, because it was missing. And because for the last 20 to 30 years, there's been such focus on India and on China as, the absolute center for global business, if you like. And it's just a missing subject in the business school, which is mad. So that's what we're trying to change. And it's been amazing to see that, I suppose, to hear those numbers from you, Vicky. David, you're just too modest. You don't shout those numbers. I did not know we were anywhere near those numbers. So to hear those numbers, the wonderful thing is that David is out with other universities and schools in the business region, but just has a home, if you like, with us in the business school as a kind of as a door opener. And also we're really privileged that our students get to benefit. So the idea of this hack, and this is the second one in a series, is just to begin to kind of start walking our talk more and more. And it makes so much sense to connect it with the SDGs. Business schools are about making things happen and trying to solve problems. And students are always saying, how much more they want to become about kind of real world applications, rather than the theories that people like me sometimes make us spend a lot of time with. So that's the idea. So I would love just more to hear from you, and please, as we go, to ask questions or butt in with suggestions or anything that needs to happen. But that's from me. Thank you. Oh, could I just say one last thing? Thank you so much to What the Hack, so Kathleen, I was going Kathleen, Caitlin, or Kathleen. We have all the different versions of your wonderful name. And Sophie started What the Hack, and I've been working with Proudly Made in Africa, and they just are like, I think everybody here, people who want to bring people together and get stuff done. So thank you guys for starting that.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Great. So now that Sophie and I are blushing,
Technically blushing.
Yeah, I blush enough for both of us, we've decided.
Yes.
So, Mark and David, would either of you like to say a little bit about yourself, your involvement, before I give the teams their hardcore explanation toolkit on problem research?
Yeah, thanks. I'll jump in quickly because I'd like to do an introduction for you. My little bias is I've been in financial services for many years, and I'm really fascinated with what actually has and can be done in innovation. So I've been talking with Vicky and Sophie. We're putting this extra prize in for the most innovative element, not the whole winning prize, but just a little extra prize to try and highlight the innovations where it's key, I think, in what can be done for businesses and small enterprises starting in Africa. I've personally been involved in an amazing work in Tanzania where there was an issue with people being able to get access to their money safely through the banking system. And a small team of local individuals built a unique way of doing identification by fingerprint for the main bank in Tanzania, cutting out the whole nonsense that we all deal with in the Western world. And it's hugely secure and meant that nobody had to carry their cash personally. They would actually, once they had obviously their fingerprint, they could access their wallet online anywhere. So it transformed the banking experience. And so far, it's actually ahead of the ID process that we use in the Western world. And we're all trying to go, we're quite jealous in the financial fintech space, going, this is amazing. It was done for a whole population pretty much instantly within a year or 2 years. I've also had, and I'm interested, Johnny, you're actually in South Africa now, is it? Are you in Cape Town now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am now at the moment.
That's fascinating. I did a lot of work with companies in South Africa, and particularly in a couple of seed companies in Mauritius. And the excitement there, there's a lot of innovation there because of the different technological challenges and trying to get, like myself here, good Wi-Fi is a challenge. So you need to figure out better ways to stream, to do things. So really, I think if there's a tech opportunity there, and if you have any tech questions, please do reach out to me. I have a few friends who know how the computers work, and we could maybe connect you guys to some ideas that you have and see if that helps build out the process. Although I am a judge, I will not participate in any biased views, but I certainly can help and put you in some good directions, you know. I think also that's what's fascinating and something I've really learned since my time with Vicky, that whole kind of three pieces, the people and the elements of how sustainable employment is created is really, really important. My experience with Airbnb, we went through a whole education progress for our 10,500 employees about how to better support businesses and opportunities in not just in South Africa, but in Africa generally. And I think it's really important to get that equality value right. It can't be, as word you use, Vicky, white. What I got?
White saviorism.
Sorry.
White saviorism.
Can't be white. Because, and I think, Maeve, I think that's where the challenge is within our business education. We've kind of inherited this process of how business should be done. And I think the beauty of technology and the beauty of how we can all interconnect so quickly globally, all those old ideas can be challenged. You don't have to distribute this way. You don't have to have this cost-based system that's made sure that all the middle people who get it to market have to get their expected cut. There's much more effective ways of distribution. There's much more effective ways of challenging the delivery, and also making sure. I'm a big advocate for ownership rights for employees. So it's not just the boss who built the company, they have all the shareholding, is that the employees have an active part in that ownership as they develop with the organization. I hope I'm on message there, Vicky, but I think it's really, really valuable. And I think with the tech companies, they're all looking for partnership in those solutions, those opportunities, because it's all about people in the end of the day. And then lastly, I only recently met David since I joined Proudly Met in Africa, but the program he's been working on for these many years with UCD, Maeve, and the other 15 other colleges is amazing. It really is amazing. I can't believe he's only one person, but he's done a huge job of education and bringing that program of knowledge and expertise and incorporating it in our kind of quite fundamentally static business ideas. We need to deal with more technology, but our concept of how we do business with each other has to be challenged. So a little introduction to you, David, but I'd love you to explain more about your program and how it's actually grown so much to 16 colleges now, and more I know we have planned in the pipeline for 2021. That's all from me for now.
Okay. Yeah. No, thanks so much. It's really a pleasure actually to have you guys there and colleagues as well. Looking at the SDGs and solutions to that, and based on Africa. I don't know yourselves, John and Kira and Harim, Zainab as well. Did we come close together in the classes maybe last year or this year?
I think last year, before the COVID times, the good old before the COVID times, I had you in one lecture, and I can't remember what it was actually.
It might have been Business and Society, possibly.
Business and Society, the first
yes,
year.
Yes.
I think so. I have a vague memory.
Good. No, it's good. It's good to know that you still remember about that. And yeah. So and Harim, you just joined this year in UCD, or you were there last year as well? Harim and Zainab.
Zainab mentioned she's in pre-engineering, I think.
Pre-engineering.
Yeah. So, and I know they mentioned also they have a mic issue. So, but great question. Yeah. Zainab and Harim, we'd love to know more. You're very welcome. So do fill us in on how you came to be here, because we'd love to hear.
Exact. We have been doing also a few classes in the engineering. I think maybe third year. Some of the engineering classes, we do a bit of Africa with them. Yeah. So yeah, so it's really a pleasure, and I'm happy some of you guys were in the classes. So myself, I'm from Tanzania. I've been studying in Tanzania and in Europe, and then I came to Ireland. And then after finishing my studies in UCD, in DCU, I then joined UCD, Proud Made in Africa, and the UCD for this fellowship. So what I find is interesting, I mean, is to really to share the knowledge about Africa, and to engage, of course, to open up the minds of you guys on the whole subject of doing business in and with Africa. As I go along, I mean, there's a huge richness in terms of the continent. I think as maybe you might have realized in some of the classes we've done, but I think it's an enormous opportunity to really engage with the continent. And I think what I find with the students working with them is that, like, Africa, because of the way we are really opening up the continent now, there is a lot of opportunity kind of not only to learn in terms of practice, but also even people, if they want to set up businesses, it seems like there is a lot of opportunities to be able to do so within the continent. So often I find it's not only a theoretical subject, it's really practical in the sense that people can really solve actual problems, and also maybe after finishing college, some of them can engage in actual businesses. Even from the classes that we have done, I've seen some of the students that have finished, they have come up and actually said, can we help us? Can you help us actually to set up a business, maybe in Tanzania or in some other African country? So I mean, looking at that, I mean that potential. So it's really exciting. It's exciting to open all that for you guys to be able to interact and learn. And I think doing this now in the hackathon is even more practical way to look at that and solve the problems. And I think we will be around, of course, to support you with various questions that you might have as mentors, and in any other case, you can be able to ask the questions. Wednesday will be good. Next Wednesday will be a good opportunity also with the conference on doing business with Africa. So we will have ambassadors, actually, myself as well, talking about some of the philosophies in the way we in Africa have been organizing ourselves and how we live together. There's a philosophy of Ubuntu, Ujamaa, and Medima. We are talking about capitalism and how we can reform capitalism. some people are already saying there is some ideas that could come from Africa, but maybe the idea of Ubuntu could help us, or Medima in Ethiopia, or even in Ujamaa that we have in Tanzania could help us to reform this huge way in which we have been doing business called capitalism, to try to see, how can we use some of the other different, ideas from different cultures, like in Africa, to try to reform that idea. And I think, apart from Africa, there is other ideas as well from other places. In this day and age, there's a huge thing we're talking about, decolonizing the curriculum, decolonizing the way we have been doing things. So that way is that we basically have to open ourselves to various knowledges and experiences that other people have had in various continents, to try to see how then we can make our world a better place. Because the more, in fact, we are more connected with globalization. So these interconnections, they make us actually find a way in which we can make this world a better place, all of us together. And I think the richness of ideas from various parts of the world is something that we should be embracing more and more. So for me to share the part from Africa is always a pleasure, and really nice to have you guys, and then we will be working together in the maybe in a month now, because I think the plan was this weekend, 3 days, but we might have a couple of months working together. So I think that will be exciting, and maybe I might look as well for opportunities, maybe to welcome you in some of the classes that might be happening in the coming days, maybe as well, if you'll be able to attend some of them with some of the other lecturers. So I think we can also explore that opportunity as well. Yeah. Thanks very much.
David, it's always wonderful to have you as well. David's also going to be one of your judges, hint, later at the end. And so he'll be around, he'll be back, remember. So now we're last little bit, we're gonna go over the sort of tools for understanding your problem statement, kind of starting that problem statement research part, which is one of the criteria in your judging criteria, that you based your decision on something that is in existence, and that you can back up with facts and numbers and evidence, so that you're not just deciding things are what they should be. So let's talk real quick about how kind of some tools for going about that, and then we'll loose you on the Friday night. So let me share my screen. Oh, yeah, Maeve. Sorry, Maeve, you're on mute.
Sorry. And by the way, I only discovered this week recently, which is probably slow learning Zoom, but just using your spacebar just pops in real quick when you need to get rid of mute, just in case you want to jump in real quick. But just to ask the gang, before we just go into the details, just in case there's anything you wanted to say or any questions you might have, because it might well be that you have particular concerns or things in your mind or reasons that you specifically wanted to come here. So just to check with the four of you, because it might sound like a bit overwhelming what we're proposing.
Yeah.
And if you're fine, you're fine, but only just to check in.
No, I'm most certainly fine.
Grant.
I just think it's very inspirational what you've all said, but in particular, I can relate a lot to what you were talking about, Ubuntu, David. And I think that's what South Africa, growing up here, it's kind of, I mean, there's such a gap between the rich and the poor, and it's heartbreaking. And the way in which Africa is kind of growing now, it's so great to see, and economies like Rwanda kind of uplifting everyone together is just so important. And that's the Ubuntu philosophy that I most certainly can relate with, and would love to see happening here, because South Africa's got its issues on its own. But yeah, I just really related with that.
And I guess I'm also wondering, that's amazing, Johnny. It really is. It's so nice to understand more like about what has shaped you and what your thinking is as a business student as well. But I wondered as well as we go into this, and I might be interrupting, but I just wondered if you already were coming, say, with ideas, or any of the four of you, are you actually planning on building ideas? You don't have to go into your ideas at all, but it's just to get a flavor of what's in your heads and where you're at in the process.
I have to say I was mostly just coming in with an open mind. I didn't have a lot in advance, especially because I didn't know, teammates and all that sort of stuff. So I feel like I'm just open to kind of mold and go with whatever. But David, what you said about joining in on some of your classes, I'd definitely be interested in that, if that's an option, because I feel like I'm kind of on the outside looking in. I have a lot of blind spots, so I have a lot to learn. So any opportunities, I definitely take them.
David, maybe during the week you can, or throughout, you can share in the Discord where people can find you when they want to, for classes that they could join.
Yeah, definitely.
Super.
That's amazing. And Harim and Zainab, I don't know if you want to pop anything in the chat, but it's only just to give you a chance to say where you're at, because I think talk of weeks and months might be a bit overwhelming, knowing what the curriculum is for you guys as you move into the latter end of the term. So just to say, I think all of our intention is just to connect and to make things the scale that works for fueling connection rather than anything overwhelming. So thanks.
Yeah, definitely. We're not going to grade you. You don't have to like turn in a paper when you come back. This is just so you have the idea of what you would have been doing this evening, basically. And now instead of 2 hours, 3 hours to do it, you have 3 weeks. So no pressure, there's no due date on any of this. So yeah, this is just like I said, so that you have some kind of the tools, the first steps. Open minds are great. Even if you have, I love even when people have come in with a problem or come in with a pre-formed idea, we still make them go through the same process, because having to examine even that already created idea means that you really dig into the why you're doing it, making sure that you're matching your solution to the actual cause of the problem, as opposed to kind of treating the symptoms. You'll hear me rant on about that a lot in all of my talks throughout the event. This idea of really digging down so you understand, okay, this is what I think the problem is, or this is what the problem is, but this is actually what's causing it way over here. And so let's really talk to people, understand, getting to know not only the problem, but getting to know the people who it's affecting, so that you can say, okay, this is how, this is what the problem is, this is how it's impacting them. Maybe the solution isn't even related to this. This is a second, third, tertiary result of some kind of far off event. So that's why we do problem statement research first, really sort of digging down into the what, the why, the how, before we even start to think about this is a solution that we want to make. So research, a systematic investigation into and study of materials and sources in order to establish facts and reach new conclusions. That's the kind of the most important part there, this idea of digging down into something so that you can find a new conclusion, or sometimes even to just confirm what you already know. So the first thing is to think about, like I was saying, what is the process that you're trying to create, or what is the process you're trying to help somebody get through? You're trying to help somebody get from point A to point B. So like Mark was saying, that idea of validating your access to your money, or your access to your digital wallet. Does it have to be a card? Does it have to be a PIN number? It's not about the tool to get there. Really starting out as just, here is where my person is, and here is where they want to be, and how do I get there? Preferably, we want it to look like this road, which is a nice straight line, and it's relatively flat, and you can see here I am, and there is where I need to be, and I can see exactly how I am going to go from here to there. More often though, so when we lay out, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So laying that process out of, this is where I want to be, this is where I am, this is where I want to be, and these are the steps that I think should be taken along there. If we're thinking back to the road example, I'm going to go over a few bumps. There's some yellow lines that I'm going to follow. It's a pretty straightforward process. I don't want to have too many steps. I don't want to have too many things that I have to do, too many places where I have to put in a lot of effort. I like to say that we're efficient people. Humans are just kind of inherently a bit lazy, and we like to just do things as easily as possible so that you can get from point A to point B and go on and do something else, so we can create more things. So we want to lay out first, thinking about, this is what I would like the solution to be, this is what the process should look like. And then thinking to yourself, but what does the solution, or what does the process actually look like? If it wasn't something that needs to be solved, maybe it already looks like the first one. More likely, because it's a problem, it's going to look something like this. Who knows how you get from point A to point B in this road process? Who knows where anything goes? It's a muddle. You might make it work, you might not. It might only work because you've done it 1,000 times. I'm from the Midwest in the States. We have lots of highway intersections that look like this, and the first few times you do it, it's one of the most terrifying experiences of your life. And then after that, you just know, okay, I need to be in this lane and this is how I do it. But just because that's the way we do it doesn't mean it can't be better. So talking to people who are experienced the problem, talking to people who are maybe looking at their problem from outside, because like I said, if it's something that you do every day, you might not think about it as something that could be better. Sure, this works. Why would I change it? Why fix what isn't terribly broken? So getting a lot of people's opinions or a lot of people's insights onto what the process is, what their experiences are with the process, so that you can lay out in this same line, what does it actually look like? What are the steps that I'm actually having to take to get from point A to point B? What do I actually need to do to access my money, to access my Wi-Fi, to be able to build a house, to be able to produce something? Whatever the issue is that you've decided to focus on, how are people actually going about that process? And then really thinking to yourself, okay, who are the people who are involved within that process? If there's a lot of different manufacturers involved, if there's a lot of different people influencing along that line of the process, you have a lot more stakeholders to deal with. So stakeholders are anybody who has kind of a skin in the game, who has kind of, they're going to be influenced by things that happen along that line. If you think about supply chains, you have a lot of people along the line. I think Mark or Vicky was talking about that idea of everybody takes their cut along the way. You have lots and lots of stakeholders. And how are they then going to influence that process? Especially with supply chains, you have a lot of influence on, I want there to be as many steps because everybody wants to get their cut along that line. So how are you going to either make everybody along that line happy, or how are you going to strategically remove a few people along that line to smooth the process out? But really understanding who all is influencing this that you might not have thought about originally, that might not be your kind of one person who's trying to get from point A to point B, who's sort of along the line there, could maybe distract them, get them off track. So understanding who all your stakeholders are along that process and lay them out. I'm a big one, you can see I'm a big one for visually organizing your information. And I'll send you guys a link in the Discord. These are all templates in Miro. It's digital sticky notes. It's a fabulous, fabulous platform. If you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend it. It's free, it's beautiful, it has lots of templates. So laying out, okay, who are all of the people who are my stakeholders here? Who is my main person trying to get from point A to point B? Who are the people that might be influencing that pathway? The different people along the supply chain, the different people who are benefiting from buying the product or using the service or helping in some way, the sort of tangential or supporting roles that come along. Who are all of those people, and how does this process influence them? What do they put in? What do they expect to get out? So then you can really see, okay, these are the people that I'm going to need to please, or that I'm going to need to find a way to kind of work around. Especially when we're working with the people, planet, profit idea, we don't want to say, okay, you know, one of my stakeholders is the people who are producing my product. I don't want to say, I'm just going to produce it in a different place, and then you've left your entire workforce out of a job. So really considering, especially when we're working with this people, planet, profit idea, all of the stakeholders. One of those being the planet as well. So I can't just say, oh, I'm going to burn my trash and it'll be fine. No, please don't do that. And then, like I said, what are each of them trying to accomplish? What's the influence? What is each of them trying to put in, and what do each of them expect to get out? I forget to move them along, and then I just ramble too much. And talking a little bit about what do you know about each of your stakeholders. Again, these are all sort of different templates to organize the same information, but knowing what are their interests, what are their personas, what are the skills that they have, especially. So if you're saying, okay, I'm gonna have an app and it's gonna do this and this and this, maybe your persona, your stakeholder along the line isn't that tech savvy, isn't gonna have access to Wi-Fi, or isn't gonna have access to the technology that you need. So really understanding that, so that in solving the problem, you don't create a new problem again. So we want to solve one problem and reduce the number of problems, as opposed to solving a problem and creating more problems out. And that really comes from knowing your person, knowing everything about them, everything that you can about them, about their skills, their what's it called, the things they hold dear. So if you're going to focus on changing one aspect, making sure that that's not something that's culturally relevant, or that's something that they're not going to sort of push back against it. Again, trying to solve problems without creating more problems. Next one. Oh, is that the last one? So, there we go. So that was the whistle-stop tour of how to do problem statement research. I know, very just sort of at you and fast, but when we come back again, we'll go through it again, so that the folks who weren't here today equals, or what? Sorry. The chats are popping up and I'm reading them as I talk. So that the folks who aren't here today will also have that information as well. So you'll have a refresher later on, and this will all be, the video will be in the Discord as well, so you can come back and look at it later if you want. Any questions on any of that? I know, sorry, that was really fast, but just so that you have kind of I just want you to have sort of an overview of what we're going to start with and what you might have sort of brewing in the back of your mind in the next few weeks. Cool.
If I jump in with a few words, I think the whole planning process, from my experience in previous times, really do that, put the energy there, because actually executing the plan is probably a little bit easier once you've got that clear message, that clear structure. So the notice board, what we used to use in more recent times, is storyboard. It's almost like a Disney cartoon land. What is the journey for the customer? What is the journey for the supplier? Where do they interact? When do they have to interact? And what is the exchange of resources, whether it's money, time, effort, skill between them? If you can figure that out, post your storyboard, you're kind of, I'm using a bit of a cliche here, Maeve, a route to market is easier if you've got that plan and you've got that concept right. I think also think of your resources about the innovation or product or service you're trying to supply, that it's local and it's easy available. You're not challenged by, you know, an idea or an app or technology or service that actually wouldn't be able to be supplied within the country easily. Because you can have great ideas and then go, oh, we have to get X amount from Hong Kong or Y amount from Germany to facilitate this service in Kenya. And you suddenly go, that's really expensive. So I think working that concept of resources, what resources are available within the local jurisdiction where you're solving the problem, is really crucial. I think a lot of global companies, and I've been part of a few where we've had some great ideas and going, oh my God, this is so expensive, we can't even sell it. Nobody's going to buy it at 50 times the cost of all the pieces we built to bring it together. I think also, and this is so easy to say, but it's hard to avoid, try not to get too complex at the beginning. Keep it really simple, two or three really good ideas of what the service or product is or solution you're thinking of, and limit yourself. Don't do that kind of research killer where you go into so many rabbit holes you don't come out of it and your ideas are lost. You've kind of lost the enthusiasm of the idea. Get that whole storyboard done first, and you get to the journey, you go, is that solving what we thought the problem was? And check it with your customers first. And I would suggest, I'm not familiar with Discord, but using that type of tool, you could bounce those questions off and say, does that actually solve a problem? Do you think that works? So that you're not getting misguided down rabbit holes. That's what I've spent years of my life in meetings where people get stuck in a piece of detail. And my background is guidance and risk, so I'm looking at the regulations and the rules and what you have to do, what you shouldn't do, and why you can and can't. And all regulations or rules can be challenged. And I think we've all seen in the pandemic in the last year, many of those things you're supposed to do it X and Y way have dissolved. They've been removed by the pandemic needs of people having to actually work and do things differently. So do challenge them. I will, in my role as judge, won't be able to resist going, well, the regulations there don't allow you to do that. But I'd love you to challenge if there is a regulation that you think is inhibiting your idea, come up with the challenge for it. Compliance people love an idea where we can change a rule and make life better, but get rid of some of the red tape that's just inherited from years and years of legal process and legal structure. That's my few. I was going to say 2 cents, but that's probably not appropriate. It should be €2 or 2 Bitcoins or 2 something else.
2 Bitcoins.
And I would suggest, if you think of the different technology out there in exchange of value, 2 Bitcoins, well, it's a lot of money, I know. But if you think about it, there's a lot of other coin there that could be used to stabilize that cost or that basis of where it could be, that product could be shared or sold globally, but giving currency, a lack of currency volatility to the producer in Africa. Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Vicky, but I think that it can also be a challenge to get the product or service from Africa to a wider global market when
Correct.
they can't afford to pay the currency exchange, and they get caught up in a banking system.
Or like, I think even
exactly. So I think it's really something to consider, that actually if you had
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm on a delay. Go ahead.
I was just going to add to exactly what you're saying. Apologies for cutting in, Mark. I was just going to add to exactly what you're saying. Like some of the producers that Proudly Made in Africa works with, over the years, we've seen that like the logistics, like the actual cost of shipping stock out of the country is often more expensive than the product itself. Like, so there are hurdles to clear when it comes to exporting or even achieving scale business. And I was just saying when Mark was talking there, auxiliary industries are also things to look at. So yeah, banking, logistics, infrastructure, like so even like internet infrastructure as well as basic road infrastructure, shipping lines, all of that stuff, and attracting that type of business to Africa to say, actually, there is enough interest here, there's enough product here, there's enough market here that those support industries should be built up around the emerging manufacturing sectors or emerging sectors at large. So I will shut up now, Mark, and take over.
No, I think you've actually triggered my mind. I was actually talking to a company recently last week who, if you think of Brexit, caused all these problems in our own jurisdiction in trying to get products and services across the elusive board between Europe and UK, and what all the challenges it has. And someone's trying to create an app to make that process easier, so that when you produce your product You start your first label, your first barcode, but it also triggers all those customs forms and everything you need to get it out without having to rely on large organizations like Amazon and everywhere who all take a little piece of the action, the service that they provide to you, or the custom cost to use a Visa card, and they'll take a little piece of action as well. So, you know, if you think of that product, like we know with the fantastic products that proudly made in Africa, I recommend the chocolate. My wife loves it. And I recommend the coffee. The coffee is keeping us all awake through these long weeks. But I would certainly recommend that delivery to market. That is usually, from my little experience of the companies I've worked in, the hardest part. You have this great idea, but can you actually get it into the shop front? Can you actually get it across border? Can you actually get it to the customer who you say you're solving a problem for? So I'm going to break with your suggestion, Sophie, to say, do it in reverse. If this is the need or the problem for the customer, work backwards to the start of your storyboard. Because your great idea might not even, and I've seen in hackathons where people have had great ideas, and with we're kind of got a bit of an extended time here. But if you only have 3 days and you start at the beginning, you don't get to the end product and the customer hasn't got anything. And so when you go to judge it, you're like, but we can't see what you solved. You know? So start there. What does the end product look like? And then build the solutions behind that to get to that product. So you're always got that focus of saying, I'm giving the service, I'm giving that product, I'm making that happen, you know. But that's my my 2 African coins. I'll change it that. I'll say they're my 2 cents for the whole conversation.
Wow, thank you, awesome. I'm gonna work that in too to the next. I adapt the explanation every time. I steal little things from everybody who comes. So I'm like one of those crabs that sticks things to themselves. So if anybody else has any questions or wants to throw out any thoughts, you guys have like some great starting points now, I think, about auxiliary industries and different things to sort of dig into a bit while you have time, since we're not just going to be 3 days. So if anybody else has any questions or anything, I always ask and then I never leave any time. So I'm going to pause here. Good. Okay. Then awesome. So I'm going to wrap up for today then. I'll send everybody more details, more information. I'll also be dropping things into the Discord there since you guys are already there. And I will reorganize you so that you're all on the same team. You'll all pop up. You've seen your little team channels on the sides there. You'll all have the same one. I think you'll all be on team 1 because that's easy for me.
On team 1.
Go team 1. So you'll all be in the same team. You're welcome, like I said, to discuss, to share ideas, to chat about what you want to work on, if you have thoughts or anything that you want to discuss with your team, or to reach out to any of us. You can @ anybody and it will send them a direct message, or click onto their name. And you can also, it'll pull you into a direct message there as well. And everybody, I was gonna say, and I'll send you guys the link for the conference, but everybody's already signed up. So you were too fast for me. So yeah, so then we'll see everybody in the conference on Wednesday. If anybody else wants to throw in any thoughts, otherwise I always say, like, everybody put their microphones on for the end if you can. And we'll say yay and goodbye and see everybody soon.
Thank you.
Hey, goodbye.
Bye. Thanks everybody.
Bye. Thanks for your time. Happy
Bye.
Friday.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for your enthusiasm. It's been super energetic.